Good morning, Jim Laird joining you live from Dirielma, Nicaragua. I hope you're well today. Today's video, warning, it's a trap. Don't get caught in the hype. So after today's video, I'm going to give you kind of a general idea of kind of what's going on in the fitness industry right now and with the internet marketing and all that sort of stuff, and then finding the right approach for you and what I've seen work over the last 30 years and kind of what I've learned from working with my clientele. But let's go live on Instagram and get that going. Here we go. We're live on Instagram. It always takes time for people to get on Instagram. So hope you're well today. Beautiful day here. We're in the heat of summer, and it's really interesting. During the rainy season, there isn't really a lot of mosquitoes, but all of a sudden, now that it's summertime, there's lots of mosquitoes. So interesting. Luckily, there's enough breeze here. Usually they aren't a problem. So, I'm not going to get millions of views for this, or I'm not going to sell, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of products or services by talking about stuff like this. But there is this thing called reality. And unfortunately, in marketing, there's a lot of hype. I've seen a video today about like the big toe is the key to your longevity. I've seen videos about, which there is truth to that. Your big toe is very important for your balance, your overall, but is it the one thing that's holding you back from your longevity is your big toe? Maybe. I don't know. I saw another video of a very prominent influencer who's all over the place talking about how exercise makes up for sleep. Maybe. Depends on the intensity. What group of, I believe the group of people she was studying were like 24-year-old males that showed that, exercise improved their markers if they were deprived of sleep. The vast majority of people that I work with are working really hard. They're really busy. They're type A people. And then they're not sleeping enough. They're not taking care of themselves lifestyle wise. And they try and make up for the intense exercise, and it blows up in their face. There might be some people that can do that just fine, but the vast majority of people can't get away with that for a very long period of time. So we want to avoid all these extremes. And there's this thing called trade-offs. So a well-rounded person is going to be able to do a little bit of everything, right? You don't want to be in the get strong at all costs. I'm going to build as much muscle as possible camp. And you don't want to be in the contortionist camp or the I never do anything physical or hard camp. You want to float in the middle somewhere. So you should be able to lift some things and challenge yourself, and you should be able to move and flow. Like I'm working on a lot more moving and flowing because I've spent most of my life training to lift really heavy things and trying to get as big, as strong as possible. So now that I'm almost 50, now I'm starting to do more rope, learning how to rope flow. I'm doing some Tai Chi. I still lift weights, but it's not the prime goal that I have. So a lot of this is about who are you? Is your goal look good, feel good, move well? It's very easy to install the daily, everyday habits are what's really going to move the needle. Are you getting outside multiple times a day? Are you making an effort to get better sleep? Are you eating good food? Are you doing some sort of stress management? And then are you doing some sort of workout program that addresses your ability to move and get stronger within reason? Not everybody needs to become an elite level powerlifter. That would definitely take years off your life. So, it's just the marketing part of fitness has really, really messed it up for the vast majority of people, because the vast majority of people are looking at this is the key, this is the key, this is the key. To really, it's a blend of everything. And then if there's a glaring problem, like if your foot is really messed up, usually not only it's the foot, it's usually the entire chain, the entire system is something going on, usually something showing up in the foot. Sometimes, many times, is something in the whole chain. So if you get the body moving in general, a lot of times it manages that, right? And is it something that can even be fixed? I don't know. These are all things that the thing you have to realize about training or about anything really, it's a giant science experiment. If you start with a low-hanging fruit, you get some consistent habits, and that's really the name of the game, is getting people to actually comply and giving them a plan that actually is manageable for them And a lot of people, they don't have to be necessarily perfect. You know, some people, if they get outside a couple times a day, makes a huge difference in the way they feel, makes a huge difference in the way they sleep. You don't have to like live in a jungle like I do. That's a decision I made for myself. Um, so giving people sustainable habits over time with food, with exercise, with light exposure, with all of these things is going to build pay dividends in the long run. But most people are just so busy with their life, they get caught up in the running people all over the place and the super busy modern lifestyle that they neglect their self-care, especially when it comes to women. I always tell ladies, hey ladies, you've got a family, you got a husband, you've got a job, and you're doing all this stuff for everyone else. You need to put the oxygen mask on yourself. And for some people, that's just like a 10-minute non-sleep rest. Maybe if you're super busy, you've got a lot of craziness going on in your life, maybe you grab one float tank session a week and that buys you some forgiveness. Have some really strict boundaries around sleep, because you can push yourself pretty hard. If you have a hard stop at 8 o'clock and the screens go away and you do, you read, you get yourself decompressed and you really focus on sleep, you can get away with a little bit during the day. Okay. You don't have to be a Buddhist monk. So I hope that provides some clarity. And that's really what my groups are about. The men's group and the women's group is to help simplify, help provide clarity, help provide accountability. So go ahead. Those are totally free. Vitality Brotherhood, Vitality Sisterhood. I have some coaching programs that are accountability based, where we sit, we talk to you, we figure out who you are, what your goals are. Are you a banged up 40-year-old dude that needs to move better? Are you a older lady who needs to lift some weights to build some bone density? How do we start that off and make it as pain-free of a process as possible? Making sure that you start where you are, you're consistent, and you're doing the stuff you need to do every day, and you're doing the right amount of training, walking, a little bit of high intensity exercise, and some strength training is really the blend for long-term success. That's what I've seen with the clients I've worked for 20 years. Is consistency wins over time. And it's not sexy. It doesn't sell millions of products, but that's the truth. So I hope you're doing well today. It's a really short video. I just wanted to get on here and share that. So don't fall into these rabbit holes. Focus on the big picture. Focus on the things you can control. Don't focus on the things you can't control. And don't hyper focus on certain things, unless, of course, you've got some sort of autoimmune disease or you've got a medical issue. Then you need to find the right appropriate help for that. But even if you do find somebody, a specialist, you should be working on the 5 fundamentals, which is walk outside 3 times a day, get the lights off at night, eat high quality protein, drink high quality water, and have community. Like, those are the foundations of everything. And then if you need to, chase a specific modality to get better, or a certain treatment, or you need to see a physical therapist or a manual therapist or a pelvic floor specialist to help you address a certain issue, that's a totally different animal. But you still need to work on the foundation of your health, which I think circadian rhythm combined with those 5 fundamentals is the foundation of health. And that's the reason why so many people are struggling today, because our modern life doesn't promote those 5 fundamental things. And so modern life just pulls you away from that, and that kind of gets you in trouble. So join one of my groups, get in there, join the discussion. We've got a lot of great people in there. I also have, if you're really struggling and you want to find out why, I have a mini course. Basically, why am I not getting results, or not getting results is the title of it. So if you're not happy where you're at, you're frustrated, you're burned out, you're not in a good place, just go to vitalitybrotherhood.com/results. The link is in the description below, depending on where you are, what social media platform you're on. We are live streaming on a number of social media platforms. You can get in on that mini course. It's totally free. And then, of course, this show is sponsored by my good friend Charles Mayfield's company, Pharaoh. It's a lard-based skin product. I use it on my feet. It's the only thing that really helps keep my feet in a decent order. My feet are just a mess, skin wise. They've gotten way better since I've moved down here, and then also using Charles's product. So you can go to pharaoh.shop and you can use discount code JIM15 for 15% off. So this is going to be my new regular time. I'm going to be on here every single day at 8 o'clock my time, which is 10 o'clock Eastern. I'm going to be consistent with that. I'm really happy. I found a gym that's going to allow me to film content. So it's also I'm going to be training a couple people there too, which is great. That I really miss working in person with people. So that's going to allow me to do that. I had 2 sessions this past week with a baseball guy who happens to own the gym that I'm working at. He plays baseball here in Nicaragua. So that's a lot of fun for me. I really love working with people in person. So I was so excited. I came home and I was just running all over the place. I was so happy just being able to work with some people in person. So that was wonderful. It's really interesting. I'm really grateful. I was going to do a video on this, but we'll loop it in with this one. I'm really grateful for a few things. One of the things I'm grateful for is I was born in 1975. So I grew up in the late 70s and childhood in the 80s. And in Canada at that time, they had an incredible phys ed program. I played every sport imaginable. I was outside winter, summer, from the minute we got out of school. Even in school, we had multiple recesses. We went outside. My teachers took us outside when we got too rowdy. We had gymnastics in phys ed. We had something called Canada Fitness. Everybody participated, no matter what their level was. You did the best you could. And, we were climbing ropes and doing, somersaults and cartwheels and all the things that kids need to do and play. I'm so happy I grew up with that. I'm so happy that I wrestled. I did all of these things as a youth because even though I've neglected a lot of those traits and characteristics of athleticism because I was hyper focused on getting as strong as possible, I still moved pretty well because I had to demonstrate exercises, and I would do drills with my offensive linemen. I would play catch with, I've trained a professional baseball player for years. I would play, catch with a football with him as part of the warm up. A lot of times I would get involved in a lot of the drills that we were doing in when I was training young athletes and kids. So, and then I did some wrestling and a little bit of jujitsu. So I've moved around. So I've kept my ability to move fairly well, but now I'm really focusing more on, regaining the ability to skip and sprint and do agility work and, things like flowing, explosive med ball throws. I'm working on more athleticism because I've got the strength part down and I've got plenty of muscle. Now it's just a matter of moving well and maintaining, cardiovascular fitness and things like that. And that it's come back very quickly because I have that movement library from my youth. So if you're a parent, make sure your kids are doing multiple sports. Make sure they're outside as much as possible, playing, riding bikes. That is a memory bank in the brain. The brain stores all that stuff for later use. And kids just need to play and they need to do multiple activities. So I'm very grateful that I grew up in an era where I played outside. I developed all these things now. And now that I'm turning 50 in April, I'm able to restore a lot of these things that I might have lost a little bit of. And it's a lot of fun. I'm able to do rope flows and hit the heavy bag every single day. I have a rebounder. So I try to do, after this call, I'll probably go do a couple jumps on the rebounder, do a couple rope flow drills. I'm able to integrate this stuff into my day. And then I lift, 2 to 3 days a week and incorporate a lot of stuff where I'm moving well. I've lowered the weights a little bit. We're doing a lot of kettlebell swings. We're doing some different kettlebell things, a lot of arm bars, stuff like that, bear crawls. Hopefully I'll be able to film a lot of that. They're going to turn the music off for me, so I might be able to do some lives while I'm training. But that's something I'm grateful for. The other thing I'm super grateful for is the fact that growing up, I tinkered with everything. Like lawnmowers, I would take them apart just for fun and put them back together. And there's always one little piece missing. And, where's this go? I had a 67 Chevelle was my first car, changed the motor mounts, would play with the carburetors, would do all the maintenance on the car myself, change the points, the distributors. So, yesterday I had my motorcycle decided just to die. I'm in, downtown Messiah on my own. I always carry a toolkit with me. I drive a single cylinder, they call it a thumper motorcycle. It's great. But the problem with a single cylinder bike is it's kind of rough, especially when you're doing a lot of highway riding. It does great on the highway, but there's a lot of vibration. So things shake loose, things happen. And the bike just died. So I went through my little checklist. Okay, let's pull the cap off the spark plug. Let's check and see if we're getting some spark. I was getting spark. Okay. And I looked down, I was looking around. Oh, the carburetor has a like an air intake that goes into the engine. And it had separated, it had shaken loose and separated. So I had my little screwdriver, got in there, put my gloves on so I wouldn't burn my hands. And I was able to connect that back together in 30 seconds. And on my way I go. And there's been a couple times like here, when I first moved here, I moved to Diriomo. There's a laguna here nearby, and there's a road that goes down all the way from the top down to the volcanic lake. And I took that road down. I didn't realize that at the bottom, during the rainy season, there's this big sheet of moss that was literally like it covered the entire thing. And I didn't realize I got on that and my bike slid out from under me. And I almost slid into the lake, which would have been the end of me. But luckily, the bike and I stopped just before this cliff that you went down into the lake. But, so I got the bike up, I started it up eventually because you have a carbureted bike and it, falls over. It's going to be flooded for a while. So I was able to get it going, have a Kickstarter. I had a Kickstarter on that bike. So we got it going, and then I go and the bike doesn't go. Well, in the impact, the chain had come off. So I was able to, because I played with motorcycles and bicycles for so much growing up, I was able to by myself with like minimal tools. I was able to get that chain back on. I mean, I was down this road. It takes about 45 minutes to walk it. I'm on my own, no cell phone reception in a third world country. Being able to fix things on the fly is kind of important. So I was able to get the chain back on. I was able to get out of there. So that's something I'm really grateful for. The fact that I tinkered, that I worked on engines, that I kind of have a good understanding of mechanical things is something I'm grateful for. And the last thing that I'm grateful for, which is kind of different, is, I'm getting better at Spanish. I'm still not great. I can understand more than I can speak, which actually is an advantage sometimes, because you can play dumb and you can listen to what people really say about you. So it, for the most part, 90% of the people here are wonderful. They take, they're very kind to me and very nice. Every once in a while, there's somebody that has an ulterior motive, and I'm able to pick up on that because they know I don't speak Spanish. They'll speak whatever they say. And it's like, oh, that's interesting. Okay. You're a good person for me to avoid. So that works out to my advantage sometimes. All my years working in nightclubs, I started bouncing in nightclubs when I was like 17 or 18 years old. And I bounced in nightclubs all the way into my 30s, off and on. All the way through my 20s was pretty consistent. And then in my 30s, I picked up a couple jobs on the side, particularly when the market crashed in 2008. Instead of adjusting my lifestyle, I went and got another job, which was really stupid. I should have adjusted my spending habits, but that was not smart of me at the time, but it was a good life lesson. Even though I worked all those night shifts and that wasn't good for me staying up that late, all the years and the bodyguard work, the security work I've done, working concerts, all that stuff, I can read body language like nobody's business. Like I can literally watch somebody and I can see by the way they're standing what their intention is. Like this person is like in a good place, they're relaxed. Oh, this person does not have good intentions. I can see that because I've spent hours watching drunk people drinking. I've watched, interactions. I'm like, oh, that guy's going to cause a problem. That person's having a problem over there. So I can watch and read body language, and I can tell when somebody's not happy with me or doesn't like me being there. So not knowing the language well, I can read body language by the way somebody's standing. That is something that I'm very grateful for. And it also taught me an incredible amount of patience. When you're dealing with drunk people, people that don't understand what you're saying, you have to be incredibly patient and you have to be very smart and you kind of have to let things kind of develop. And so I'm very grateful for that part of my life where I spent all this time in the service industry, observing people in awkward situations. That's really helped me living here in Nicaragua. And then I'll give one more thing and then we'll end her for today. If you are planning to move to like a developing country like Nicaragua or a tropical country, um, you have to be so you have to be incredibly clean to live here.